Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And we are back from Los Angeles, back on the East Coast. But then as we're here, we're chatting with someone from Portland. It's Logan Lynn from dotgay. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's so great to connect with you here.
Likewise.
Yeah, no, just I'm sure people, our audience has a lot of questions and they'll want to know like what's going on with this .gay domain.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, just like tell us a little bit about it and how you got started with it.
Sure. Yeah, dotgay is coming out this month. It's September now, which is exciting. September 16th, it launches to the world. We've been in preliminary phases, sunrise phases, focused on brands for months now, and it's really exciting that it's about to be available to anyone.
Yeah.
I got in. You asked how I got involved. I have a long history of being a public gay person. I was on the early days of Logo. I had a show on MTV's Logo Network, and have just always been very out with my music and with how I dress, and I'm just like gay, and have been very, very publicly gay for quite some time. And so I think that experience, especially early on, like my first record came out like in 1998. I'm just going to go ahead and name that I'm a little bit old. And have been around since before being gay was like a selling point for artists, and got a lot of like very weird pushback and homophobia very, very early on. I had one of the first gay kisses ever on an MTV channel that was like not banned in a music video, and actually aired into 26 million homes. And
Wow.
I think that really did something to the parents in those homes at that moment. And some of those people still to this day like hate follow me or whatever. So I think I have this experience of rising up as a gay person in the media, and then having people really come after me, trolling, just like really massive trolling for years. And that led me to be kind of punk rock about the whole thing, where I was like, well, I'm still gay. Like, I don't know what you want me to do about it. And so if anything, that was my cue to dial my gay up when all that trolling happened. I've always been sort of a fighter for our communities and for myself, whatever that looks like at any given time. It's looked a number of different ways, but the thing that is the through line is the sort of being willing to fight. And I do think that I got it in my head that like the internet should not be a terrible place for LGBTQ people to be. I started fighting Reddit and tech companies to change their policies. I was in People magazine about my experience, and my team applied a bunch of public pressure to investors of different platforms, and we did actually make change. Reddit changed their policies because of the experience with me and what was happening, as well as some other people that were targets of that particular group. But that led me to have this like experience of like, oh my God, like the internet doesn't have to be terrible. Like I had always felt that why are people expected to be kind and cool to others in real life, but then the moment you log on, you're like, I'm a monster. And like, why are all of these platforms sort of monetized around that? Like, just like all of that had been kind of a dream and something that I talked about like at parties and on the radio, but like never actually thought would change, especially not over at Reddit, which if anyone is familiar with old Reddit, it was just like the worst place. I mean, I should probably knock on wood, there are worse places on the internet, but it was pretty terrible, dumpster fire style for a mainstream site. And so for them to change their policies and still be successful, right? Like the idea was like, if we change our policies, nobody will use Reddit. Like that didn't happen. Actually, people flocked to Reddit once they felt like they could have groups where it was safe. So I took that experience. I knew Ray King and Andrew Merriam and the folks at dotgay. We all live in Portland. I used to do LGBTQ PR for different community centers, and we had like, I knew him as like someone that gave money to LGBTQ causes, right? Like in town. And so when dotgay finally was sort of coming to market, or they were having these conversations about like, what does like the dotgay community look like? What should it look like? They were being so thoughtful and brought me into that process well before anything was public facing. And we've been in, I brought all that experience of like, what does safety or a safer internet even look like? What could it look like? What's possible, right? From a
Yeah.
policy standpoint. And we struggled with that. And Ray and the entire .gay executive team are believers, right? Like they were like all in, like, yes, let's do this. And that shaking up the status quo, sort of building the foundation of .gay in a totally different direction than what everyone has just come to accept around LGBTQ visibility and safety. The list goes on and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to sort of join that team at a time when they were really committed to doing something magical, and then being able to be part of that magic has been really cool.
Nice, nice. Well, every day now I seem to I see a new domain that's coming that you guys are announcing on board. I know you've had GLAAD.Gay and CenterLink.Gay, but you've had a number of organizations and brands coming on board lately.
Yeah, GLAAD and CenterLink are our beneficiaries. So anybody who gets a .gay name, we make a donation to each of those organizations every time, 20% across the board, all new registrations, which has been really cool to sort of see how we're making the internet safer online. And also every time we do that, every time a company does get their .gay name, they're actually making it safer for LGBTQ people in real life as well. So, Grindr.Gay went live. They're a .gay site. Atari.Gay is live. The Cutie app, George Takei, Billie Jean King. It has been really cool to see, not just like what the .gay community looks like, but like all of the things that we hadn't thought of as we were picturing the .gay community, right? Like we knew there would be gay celebrities, we knew there'd be business, we knew there'd be community groups, but there's been some really surprising registrations that have been really cool. You can check all those out on the campaign site at ohey.gay. But there's more on the way. We had a really long sunrise phase for anyone who is familiar with domain industry. The sunrise phase is pointed at trademark holders and brands. It's usually relatively short, but because of COVID-19, ours got really stretched out, which actually presented some cool opportunities. We were able to offer free .gay names to LGBTQ businesses, to community groups that were maybe struggling during COVID. Like all of our CenterLink friends at the member centers, many of them had to shut their doors for weeks and weeks. And so it was cool to like have something to do during that time other than just be afraid of the pandemic and be sitting on our hands or like delaying for no reason. Like we were really intentional about feeling like it wasn't the time to launch necessarily when we had originally planned, just because of everything that was happening, and that there was an opportunity to lean into our partners, right? Like we've been in partnership with these people for years now at this point, and we love them, right? Like our whole thing is a brand, yes, but it's also a community. And I think we saw a need and we're able to step in during that time. So when you think about the early adopters, it's like all of these people that, maybe came to us during that promotion, but also folks that have come during Sunrise that are proudly waving the .gay flag.
Nice. Well, I had the opportunity also, kind of shifting gears a little bit. You guys have this whole new web series and marketing program kind of coming forward, and called The Library.
Yeah.
And in fact, before we talk about that, let's take a look at the trailer so everybody can see what's coming.
Library is
open.
Oh hey!
Oh, hey!
The library
is open.
Because reading is what? Fundamental.
Now that looks like it's going to be fun. So tell us, what do we have in store for us here?
Well, we wanted, first of all, I have to just say, you had the first ever .gay site ever on the internet. I am remiss if I don't clap.
That's right. ILove.Gay
as being the very first historic site. So apologies for not mentioning that right before we watched the magnificent trailer for the library. I'm really excited. We got to partner with Two Penguins Productions, which is like a very well-known LGBTQ content creation production company. And we had all these plans in place before the pandemic. And so when pandemic happened, we sort of paused on like, oh, we were going to make a new web series all about LGBTQ issues, and we have to kind of stop. But we moved forward. Like we sort of waited for Portland to be safe. We switched the shoot from LA to Portland, Oregon. Got a Hollywood studio here that gets used for different shows that are filmed here, and had like the most intense safety protocols like you have ever seen. Like this call sheet came, and it was wild, and I needed that. I hadn't really left my home since the beginning of lockdown here, and they coaxed me out with the call sheet. But it was cool. Like in between each person who spoke about their lives as LGBTQ people, it's a diverse cast, all different kinds of identities and backgrounds coming together to talk about LGBTQ history, gay issues, gay terminology, like all this stuff that maybe some of us know, sometimes we don't know. Like we're trying to create an educational opportunity around the platform for that everybody can learn together while also laughing, and it's really funny and fun.
I think you're going to do well with that. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how all this comes about between now and the rest of the year.
Yeah, thanks.
And even more importantly, I'm looking forward to when we're all able to reconnect in the real world again. So the next time I'm on the West Coast, we could actually connect in person.
Count me in for the real world whenever it appears. I'm there.
Yes, I hear you. Well, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's wonderful. Thanks. Take care.